Hi everyone, we are back here at the Causeway Challenge 2016 for the afternoon's play on day 3 of what's been an absorbing tournament so far, and I'm sure will continue to be so. We're about to watch a game between Nigel Richards, the greatest player of all time, against one of the best Americans, Jesse Day. These guys have already played 5 or 6 times in the tournament so far, and I think it's 5 times so far, and Jesse holds the honours with a 3-2 record over Nigel. Jesse has reached this game with a perfect morning's play, 5-0, to storm back up to second place, just leapfrogging Mark Nyman on spread at the lunch break. Mark, of course, has just played a series of games against Nigel himself, and those 3 players are deadlocked on 17 wins out of 24. You can check the standings of the tournament. The current ones are up at causewaychallenge.com. Just click through the results, and as you'll see, these 3 players have 17 wins, with Nigel a little way ahead on spread. Then 1 win back is David Eldar of Australia. He has 16, and then an extremely strong group of players have 15. That's Komon of Thailand, Andrew Fisher of Australia, Tacha from Thailand, and Arinde Saidu of Nigeria. So this is still a wide open tournament with 21 rounds of King of the Hill left to go. I'm joined here in the booth by Canada's finest, Jesse Matthews. Hello, Jesse.
Oh, thank you. I don't know about the finest, but appreciate the sentiment all the same. Maybe one day once Adam Logan stops playing Scrabble.
That guy's no good.
Until then, no chance. Alright, so getting ready to go. Nigel with the... I was going to say just the fanny as he had it on there, but I know that for some people that's strong. The fanny pack is what we call the belt that he wears around him, at least where I'm from. But
I think it's a bum bag in my part of the world.
There you go.
Basically the same.
I realized as I was about to say it before I finally did that for some people, fanny is extremely offensive. So, in my country, it's not. So, sorry.
So Nigel picks up quite a handy opening rack, and I think add mix or something even better than add mix is going to come down fairly smartly here, unless he's worried about the ING, but I wouldn't be personally.
No, I'm trying to remember. Comics with the 2 M's is the verb, right? So comics with the 1 should be fine, no?
Yeah, indeed. Comics is a very nice play. And indeed,
the verti.
Yeah, I open vertically as well. It's nothing to do with Nigel. It's just a preference that some people have. Yeah, comment on the chat that the sound is way better. Yeah, I actually can't hear the buzz that we were hearing this morning, so it was ambient noise that was getting in the way. We're sorry about that.
I think I noticed I'm looking straight up at a light that's just, there's a new bulb that's been put in because it was buzzing as it was on its low end of life, so I think that might have played a big role in the buzzing. So yeah, I'll have to say, sound, we notice it's better too, so glad it's good for you.
So Jesse Day has had a big winning streak this morning, and he's not the only one. Andrew Fisher has also won all 5 games this morning to get up to 5th place. And a couple of players have had the opposite of that. Hubert Wee lost 7 in a row.
And finally won.
Just before lunch, yeah.
And Peter Armstrong is currently on a 7-game losing streak, has yet to find that win to shake that.
With players of that calibre losing 7 in a row, you can tell it's pretty tough out there in King of the Hill country. I think Dave Wiegand has also lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, he had a tough morning as well.
Yeah. And there are some extremely strong players kicking around on around 13 wins in this field. Even down to 12, there are a few that I wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley. Jesse made what looked like a very sensible play, resolving, what was it, triplicate ends that he had on his first track? Yeah, and he's played his way through to a nice looking AF. INRST, which even if you can't bingo, there are bingos on the board that you make. If they get blocked, he'll still have quite a flexible rack with a few options, and he won't mind that too much. Nigel has a curious rack. He's got Wagyu. But
I've seen that before.
Yeah, I've seen that one before, but I don't really see anywhere enticing to play it. That JINNE, which is on the board, that only hooks with an E, which neither player currently holds. And it's not immediately obvious at all what Nigel should do here. Very hard for him to develop the board in a favourable way, as well as solving his current ruck problems. And for anyone who hasn't been watching our feed, we in the booth are not using Quackle to find moves. We're commenting the game as we see it. So if you see something that we're overlooking, please jump into the chat and let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the positions. We've seen some really intriguing middle game strategic choices in previous rounds, and I'm sure that isn't going to change anytime soon.
Well, Mobby looks like it's gone down on the board from Nigel.
So he keeps WDG, not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but he does grab some points and he doesn't give much away. Leaves a bingo on for Jesse through the C, and I feel sure that that will go down in short order. Well, in fact he has a choice, doesn't he? Infarcts and infracts.
Probably just infarcts in order to leave the double letter score with the present.
Nigel gets a couple of handy scoring vowels which really go nicely with those tiles in the leaf plus a Z in the pickup. I like the look of that a lot for Nigel. Should get some points. That Bez is open.
I was going to say, at the least there's Bez and Zag or something of that order.
Yep.
So here goes infarcts, yes, just to avoid putting two vowels instead of double letter scores.
This is the kind of play where Nigel might decide to hold the Z back for turn, see if something else better comes available for it, and play through his clunky consonants with Gauf or Dauf or some similar kind of word. But he should only do that if there's an attractive spot on the board for it, and just on a quick scan I don't see one. He probably won't want to play 4 tiles from 12. Okay, meanwhile,
wow.
Jesse Day. Magic
Nice
fingers
ball.
against Nigel. Double bingo. Did we see him get 4 in a row against Nigel yesterday? I think we did.
Perhaps he's on his way to doing something similar again.
So Zag with Nigel, but trefoils for Jesse is going to give him a very, very handy lead early in the game.
I think he might be even playing right away here.
Well, why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
That's automatic for a top player.
Which is with Jesse, because he takes so much time usually. It's so rare. It's impressive to see him actually finally play something right away.
Well, it's good to see him banking some time.
Yeah.
We've seen already today how having no time to play with late in the game against Nigel can really cost you in a close position. So 70 points up now after that double bingo. Well and truly neutralising Nigel's elite X and Z. It's not quite a bingo ruck for Nigel. Very close.
Here we go. Jesse's had a little bit more of a typical post-bonus draw.
Play that jumps to the board is Wolf's. Nigel might not like it positionally.
Opting for Woof instead.
Probably scores a bit more, does it? Can't argue with that. Looks very good. Keeps the sets up an ED bingo line, which is one of the nice features of that play. Nigel always looking exactly one turn ahead. That's one of the features of his play. He always is wondering. He plays long-term strategy, of course, but he's always looking to know exactly what the next move is shaping up to be for him. And you often see him make plays that are customized to his lead. Bit of a headache for Jesse. Would like to kind of hold on to that lead, but the F is well, you know, there are hardly any moves using it, and he doesn't have a vowel to reach across something high scoring on row 14. Has the L to hook AW, but I don't think there's anything good.
I'm looking for something better than, say, Limbic or whatever to unload. Struggling to find anything that's good, but Limbic at the very least has 2 of the bigger letters, double letters scored. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything that scores well and leaves him something plausibly decent to work with next turn.
He might just play Climb, throw an eye.
Yeah, that's also very possible.
It shuts down bingo lines temporarily, and that's possibly going to slow Nigel down. So positionally, it's not very much of anything positionally, but it's certainly not negative for Jesse. And the GID, well, if you're looking at possible leaves from this rack, it's nice to keep the BL, but GID is up there with the better possibilities. Tons of E's to draw. Look at that. Only 2 played. But this is a genuine decision.
Kenji says climbs with the S and infarcts is probably the standard. He's just not sure if it's best. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also not sure if it's best. I think Nigel will get pikelet down if that is played, which is a nice scoring play for him with those letters. Or he, I don't know, can Nigel do well on the bottom right? I haven't really looked yet.
On first glance, no, I don't think so. An over klepto would be nice for him. I don't think kept fit underneath there.
Does Kelep go underneath there, does it?
I think it fits, yes, it does. Yeah.
So a huge score for Kelep.
Yeah, and I don't think he's likely to take it out.
No, I don't
Fib
think so
would be a very bad play.
Fib would be the play of someone who's panicking, and that ain't Jesse Day, I don't think. Guild set up on his rack. CMB, well, the synergy's not too bad for the styles. You'd rather like to have a good scoring vowel on the board to make sure you could use them. Where is this guild going?
Perhaps guilds and the S and trefoils? I don't know. Or guild underneath aw and go possibly.
Really?
I don't know. I'm just looking at spots you could play.
I'd find that a surprising choice.
It looks like he's played in the bottom part of the board, so it checks out Kelep, which is very fortunate for him. He will find out later.
Well, that's an intriguing play. I'd love to hear the chat's thoughts on that play. Not one that I would have considered as a player myself, I don't think. CMB seems to me to be a little bit risky as a leave on this board.
Yeah, he's taken out the huge response Nigel had with that, so on him for powers of telepathy, perhaps, to pick that one.
That H with AE is a pretty nice pick for Jesse. Yeah, I mean, that move was all about which consonants go together and which ones you want in the leave on this board. A big score wasn't an option, so it was very much a positional and leave-based choice. I mean, if guild generally was to neutralize the big five-letter word scoring threat, then it's a very, very canny play. I think I would have played climb vertically in the C column.
There goes pikelet from the I and infarcts.
So the lead's been shaved to 18, but Jesse has a useful-looking rack here. No bingo, of course. We did an O for that, the old hecatomb, but that won't be available. So what do people see? Is it a B column job?
I'm looking to see if there's something that'll reach 5 letters long all the way down. Not seeing it instantly.
Nor am I. Nor have I seen much going on with that F. So, looks like the rack's a little bit mismatched to the position. That was actually a risk of the leave.
Mm-hmm.
Even with a decent draw and the opportunities created by pikelet. Although, in saying this, I'm not entirely sure that we're not overlooking quite a high score. So let's hold fire until we see what goes on.
And yeah, Josh, I also saw a D12 mock was a possibility. Scores decently well. Leaves BET left over, so certainly among moves to consider on this position. B hat has lined up on his rack right
I hope
now.
he doesn't. I hope he doesn't think that's a word.
Jason in the chat is saying, please play B hat, LOL, and then also, please don't play B hat. And we preferably would like to see no more ponies from Jesse on board 1.
We're waiting with bated breath here to see what he's done.
Mock,
He's
yeah,
got a safe choice. Good stuff. And now we've got a bit to think about with Nigel Richards' rack. He does not have an 8 through the H, as Isabel tells me. There's 1 8 only. Leave that one as a quiz quickly. It does not fit.
Oh, it involves the H.
There's 1 8 with H in that rack. That doesn't play. There's also only 1 8 with an F in that rack, and it also doesn't play. But as has been pointed out in the chat, of course Nigel does have playable bingos to that S, so we expect to see Dubreeze go down, or potentially something else if there's something with the T. I see Rootedly is available. That doesn't really look like a good play, so maybe it'll be Dubreeze creating a third open triple.
Why not?
Could be fun.
Maximal volatility.
I was just about to make a comment along the lines of Kenji's, which is that the non-bingo is very, very plausible in this situation. Hoodie is excellent equity. Bingo chances next turn are very high. So well worth thinking about declining the bingo here if you're Nigel Richards. Dubreeze only scores a shade over 60 or maybe 65.
Yeah, and with all your scoring on the bottom, Hoodie's looking pretty good.
Hoodie, ER blank leave on this board is worth comfortably over 30, I'd estimate.
He's got Oi lined up on his rack.
He's thinking about Foy, perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe he likes to sacrifice even a little bit more on the scoreboard this turn and keep the H open as a possible triple line for himself.
Yeah, it seems like, I don't know how he could play that and not think he's telegraphing. Oh, there we go.
Amazing.
That's a nice one. Okay.
I mean, that's a cool play, right?
Yeah. It just looks like he's scoring and kind of balancing.
Keeping both triples like very, very cool. We should note that Jesse has a 7 on his rack. It doesn't play, but Brevit is a word. Takes a D hook, no S hook though, so no bingo. And look at Nigel's draw. Oh no. Looks like there's triples on here. or at least very possible that there are. Nobody jumped in with hooray or 4 bodies. I'm just going to leave those out there as the 8s with the floaters with Nigel's last rack. So actually surprisingly few 8s with that H in Nigel's rack, and nothing plays through the H. They're both in 5th position H. As for the F, nothing goes. That is incredible. Nigel has no playable bingo with that rack through either the H or the F, as far as I can tell. However, if he keeps the same strategy and keeps both triples open, this is a big game of brinksmanship at the moment. He may yet nab himself a 9-timer. Yeah, red short and pot shirred, the only 2 8s with the H. A little bit of surprise to me. I would have thought there'd be more. Most of the vowels are airballs. Well, I think all of them must be.
Oh, and Jesse has a blank. Nice.
Wow, isn't this interesting? 2 9-timers open, both players with very bingo-y racks. Nigel's got a really tough decision to make here. He's got an incredibly good rack. 2 huge lines open. Does he take one out? Does he leave them both? Does he bingo and open a 3rd one? Or bingo down the A column?
Red outs.
So, Nigel sort of gives in the bluffing game. He couldn't really turn that score down, I guess, though. We didn't talk much about Jesse's last play.
Yeah, Kenji, it does seem interesting that he would choose beat over beret for a lot more points in the same spot. But perhaps he wanted to leave the triple open.
I guess the R does really help the EV leave, but probably not enough of an argument there.
Fortunately for him, he has definitely got a bonus this turn.
Which we won't spoil. Can you guys find it? Okay, so Jesse Day. Suddenly it's getting quite tight on the board. You can expect those triple word opportunities on the left and right to vanish in another 1 to 2 turns each, I would expect. Although having said that, Jesse's quite likely to bingo elsewhere and create more open lines. So maybe it's going to stay unpredictable for another few ply. The scoreboard is pretty tight, and Nigel's a little bit hampered. He's going to be slowed down by that Q. QIS obvious play is reasonably unlikely to be available to him, because I think that's where Jesse's going to bingo.
And I would say based on whichever of the many he chooses, Kate or Cuddy will be available next turn for Nigel. It's a question of how much he's going to score.
but well, Jesse's because he's 21 points down and his bingo's not going to score all that much. The advantage will be slim. So he's not really going up a comfortable lead with the board the way it is. Nonetheless, he does have Nigel's Q problem is very much in Jesse's favour, and it's going to give him some initiative. Nigel probably won't be able to develop the board in a way that he would prefer, saddled with that Q. So I think things tentatively look okay for Jesse here. I don't think there's that many demonic draws that he could get, although 5 unseen I's and 3 U's plus a VW.
Notable. 2 of the I's are on Nigel's rack. He doesn't know this, but that'll work for him.
There's a case S up there. Potentially could be important, though not really an S board.
So looking at this, the 2 that I'm looking at to decide between are deserves down to the S and in parks, and then reserved from the R in trefoils. And I would probably lean towards reserved, but what do you think?
I agree. Nigel has a random rack, and I see no real reason to string it open and give him more options.
So then that actually makes things interesting for Nigel, because he'll have to choose between Cade, which leaves a very vulnerable I hook, or Cuddy, which leaves a very vulnerable S hook for the point. So it's actually a tough decision.
You see Irreverent. So that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's a deliberate sacrifice of points, is it not?
It must be. You can't miss a word like reversed or reserved, so there's a clear reason for this.
Hang on, we might be getting an updated. Yeah, reserved is now going into Quackle.
Okay, I'm guessing Henry must have put in the word wrong. Sorry, guys.
So we don't have to be surprised about that. Reserved is I think the clear favourite play there. So Jesse takes some time, but gets the decision right. That's important.
Yeah, so this still leaves a bit of a conundrum for Nigel, because Cade and Cuddy both have problems.
Cardi's vulnerable to the case S.
Cade is vulnerable to an I, which Jesse happens to have. And has a very good chance of having after that play.
Half wonder if Nigel would be tempted by a QI, just in the top left of where the tiles are.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it looks like Jesse's got some handy-looking scoring possibilities in the bottom left with that pickup.
He's got profit through the F and wolf as well for a fair bit. HN is not ideal, but that certainly scores.
That's quite nice, yeah. And PHOH is a backup, just to get some points on the board. I was briefly looking at items, but then I realised there's no front hook on his rack for ETA, so no go there. But certainly he can take out the A column up at A8 if he chooses to, with something like PHOT, or as Jesse says, profit is available to him. And this is going to be a judgment call largely based on what Nigel does now. Nigel
playing in the top right quadrant, so he might be just bombing it. Oh wait, that looks like a lot of letters. I can't see what he's like. That looks like more than 3. Aeroid. Yeah, that was more than 3.
The L setup.
Oh, and there are 3 U's. So he could also draw some huge Q play to the A and Aeroid.
Oh, what does everyone think of that? Classic Nigel Richards, right?
Several setups at the same time. But he's going to struggle with that one for a little bit.
I mean, that's a wonderful play, isn't it? And I mean that not in terms of saying
Yeah.
that it's the winningest play. It may not be.
But it's a beauty.
But it's extremely creative play. The attempt to turn what was a troublesome set of letters and make them into something that really worked on the board is just, you have to applaud that.
That's remarkable.
Whether or not it's winningest, it completely seizes the initiative, right? Jesse's now freaking out because of that play of Aroid.
And it looks like he's going to try and block that, and rightfully so.
So Jesse now forced to play for 10 points, right? On a move where he could have easily scored over 30.
Or what does he actually put in?
Not 10 points.
So limiting the potential damage from that spot to just a 4-tile play.
So he was forced to defend, and he had a good defensive play.
And he has a full number of eyes in response. He's not going to be too upset given the control he's got over this board now.
There is the A column to worry about. I mean, if Nigel makes another setup,
yeah.
So Nigel's trying to bank that cue. Yeah, and when I said Jesse was freaking out before, I obviously hadn't spotted Pother. I didn't realise he had such a solid block. But the point I was trying to get across was that Aroid just completely seizes the initiative. It absolutely dictates his opponent's strategy, and that's an ideal play, right? You want to dictate your opponent's strategy. You want to force the board around to something that suits your agenda, and that's what Aroid does so brilliantly. Whereas any of the cue plays kind of ceded the board to Jesse's agenda. Can someone out there tell us, is the L hook British?
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Marlon Hill is pouring cold water on the praise for Nigel. Well, as we said, I mean, I'm not sure that it was the most winning. But over the board, it's a very daunting play to face. It's going to do well against a lot of bad racks with a good pickup. So 51 points with 7 in the bag is semi-comfortable for Jesse, and one of the big reasons for that is that they've all been played. So the A column is not a threat. And with the A column out of action, Nigel's bingo chances here are pretty minimal. It's going to take a big overlap on row 5, or something improbable ending in U, or a 9 through OR, or something of that nature to get Nigel back in it with a bingo. So Jesse's big concern here is being outscored with the Q, and I'm looking very hard at H1 and a Q play onto E. So if I were Jesse, that's would be my first priority, to defend against that. And he doesn't have a great defensive rack, but he does at least have a V. And so Vi, leaving 5 tiles in the bag, is the first thing that jumps out at me. A defensive play. What do people think? Anything better than H4 Vi? It may well be.
looks like he's looking into visit. It's on the board as an option.
Or vicey.
Oh, vicey, right, yeah.
Nigel's play of Aroid is still being hotly debated in the chat. I think they've stopped listening to us.
That's fine. Have at her, guys.
To me, it was an impressive move in terms of pure imagination and initiative, and I'm a player that doesn't actually tend to worry that much about the maths over the board. So there are, well, I'm actually not sure what this VISI that's lined up on Jesse's rack is about. If he's thinking of vicey to one of those E's, I have to say I don't really like it. And Jesse's down to just under 4 minutes of time. Floating an I with NG unseen should mean that the F2 vicey is really out of his equation. I think would be incorrect. The H2 position might just be conceivable, but then QI is a big counterplay, so I may be missing something here. But I'm not seeing what he's going to do with that VISI. I still like H4 Vi just as a basic block.
Looks like it's just Via, and that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, that seems to be a good basic play under time pressure. You know, make your opponent make their own openings when they're trailing. Golden rule.
And this board is very cluttered.
Nigel's still 3 unseen U's to play for, so he may well have a trick up his sleeve here. You know, even if he just plays the G, gets a U, he's got Quinella. I realise that he has to have a place to play it as well, but these kinds of setups are on. If he can just about find an opportunity for himself. I think it's unlikely that he's going to be able to fork the board to give himself a possible bingo in 2 places with a Q, but a play through that PA or OR with 5 in the bag is a forking play. I don't know if one's available that will do well with it with the right pickup, but the board geometry is such that such a play is theoretically on. And I think realistically, you know, he's not going to fork the board by playing his Q, so his winning plays now involve getting a U and threatening a bingo with the Q, unless I'm missing a possibility for him somewhere.
Yeah, I'm struggling to get past, finding a way to dump the G and go for a U, but he doesn't really have a good setup play that, like you said, works in his favor here, so I'm trying to find something else that's perhaps creative to...
I'm looking at kind of like Gloria leaving one in the bag. Just wondering if there's any 7s he could get after it. Problem with Gloria is it stops him drawing Quinella because there's no other L's to get. And really, it would be a bit miraculous if Nigel could set up 2 bingo lines that were both available from Jesse's point of view.
Yeah.
With only 1 in the bag. So I think it's a pretty tough ask for Nigel to win here, but he's having a good go.
Alright, so he's giving himself a 30-point Q spot and a possibility of a triple-triple.
I wonder if he's found a 9 or something through PA that he could draw to.
2 U's.
Probably a 1 too many, I'd say. reckon he was hoping for Aqualung.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aqualung or... yeah, he wouldn't have an eye to draw for Equaling. From his point of view, actually, he could have drawn Equaling. That might have been one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Aquena, he's got for a lot of points on there, if it's not blocked, but it surely will be.
Well, this should be sort of a keep it steady kind of move for Jesse. You've got 3 tiles in the bag. If you play 2, it's pretty hard to see what Nigel can do, and that looks like what he's done. So you sort of instinctive heuristics kick in here. So even with 6 blanks added, Nigel Richards' rack doesn't make a word.
And in the process of playing Ani, as Nick said in the chat, Jesse's kept a U in case he were to draw the Q late. I think after Nip, it's fairly safe. Maybe not completely safe, but I think it's fairly safe to assume Nigel has the Q after that, so I don't know if you would need to worry about holding a U back, but all the same, it's a good insurance policy from him.
Actually, I might have to retract my 6 blanks comment. I'd forgotten that my CSW 15 only goes up to 9, I think.
So now Jesse's got some kind of scoring cue play with what's on his rack.
So Quale with 1 tile in the bag. Looks like it's basically a concession, right? Because there's no way Nigel could have drawn. He's only got 3 tiles, so he can't be drawing to a Q play to go out with. So he must have been on a 0% shot. So good stuff from Jesse Day.
And wow, he's going to be 4-2 on Nigel in this tournament.
Holds his nerve, and Nigel's now a game back from the lead. Can you believe it? After being game clear so many times.
Wow. Quite something. And as Jesse mentioned with his other game, maybe he hadn't played that fully, he could have been maybe 5-1. But hey, 4-2, that's impressive.
So the talking point from this game is undoubtedly Nigel's Aroid play, which has been hotly debated in the chat, and I'm sure people watching this game back later will have their own thoughts on that. To me, there were quite a few other interesting plays in this game as well.
Guild.
The Guild was fascinating, keeping C, M, and B from Jesse. I also thought that Nigel's decision to fish with Oxy, keeping both triples open, was very fascinating. And even Jesse's early play of Morby, that was Jesse, right? Or was it Nigel?
That was Nigel.
Whoever played Morby also made an interesting choice. So there's really a lot to get your teeth into in analysis outside of real time with this one. We've seen a series of really fascinating exchanges today so far, and I hope you'll stick with us as these continue. Presumably the next round is a lagged pairing and will therefore be Nigel and Mark again, but I think I'm just going to head to the notice board and see if I can get confirmation of that for you as we wrap up this game.
While you're doing that, we'll expect Gao for Nigel to go out. Or Og, I guess, actually, is to the H there, so... That's a roughly 30-point win for Jesse Day, who improves his record this tournament against Nigel to 4-2. Well done indeed. And with that, he is going to go a game over Nigel. Mark playing David Eldar on table 2. And regardless of whether Mark wins or not, Jesse will be in first place. Because if Mark loses, of course, he won't have 18 wins like Jesse does. But if he does win, he was almost 700 spread points back of Jesse before this game. So yeah, we have a new leader in the tournament after Nigel sat on top for a while there. Jesse's taken over the lead. Nigel in second at the moment, but possibly down to third if Mark wins. So Chris is coming back and he'll give us the news here officially.
Yeah, it's going to be round 43 of Nigel Richards versus Mark Nyman coming up next. On my way back from the notice board, I passed a disconsolate looking Dave. 5, beats on the bounce for him.
So it's just after 3 p.m. local time here in Johor Bahru. We started on the quarter past the hour, so I'm assuming it will be the same for our next round of play. So we'll be back in just over 10 minutes here at the Causeway Challenge. Until then, Jesse and Chris signing off. We'll be back again very soon.